Welcome all. This is a The Beach Brothers Show production, and tonight we're doing a Virginia election special, and I do mean special. I'll be your host, Conrad Chesbner, Virginia Beach, and tonight we're going to ask Virginians why they support Princess Blanding to be Virginia's governor. Before we do, remember to like this page. Remember to subscribe to our channels on YouTube. As you watch the show tonight, remember to share it live, share it wide, and make comments and questions. And now let's get on to the intro video for the Beach Brothers Show.
So look, the Beach Brothers Show is a show where we deal with Virginia business and politics.
Well, I'm Conrad Chesbner. I'm a Hampton Roads political activist. Best ideas for community improvement happen to drive me.
I help folks that are approaching retirement and in their retirement years.
I have what I call the empowerment agenda. And that means that everything I do is focused on empowerment. You want to give a salute to Tally and Twine. It's time for you to have a high quality watch made in Virginia, made in Portsmouth, Virginia, from Tally and Twine. We want to say thanks to Southern Volkswagen Greenbrier for their great level of sponsorship. If you need a new car, you don't need to go far. Southern Volkswagen Greenbrier. And ladies, if you want your brows to say, wow, check out IamLitaWee.com. Microblading by IamLitaWee.com. I'm Seiko Varner. I do credit fixes, tax resolutions. I lend private money to real estate investors, and we do debt consolidations. If you need any of these services, contact me as provided. And now it's time to get beachy on the Beach Brothers Show.
Welcome back. And I do want to point out the mounting supply chain crunch across the nation is hurting us here in Hampton Roads too. If you're driving out and about, you may notice when passing car lots that there are less cars there. Computer chips are playing a part. A shortage of those is making new cars harder to come by. But if you need to get a car, I still know the Greenbrier Volkswagen of Chesapeake can help you out. Head over to 1248 South Military Highway, stop in, speak with Charlie Roy, and he'll help you find a car and you can feel confident going through this pinch of the supply chain. Now on to tonight's program. We make it a goal here on Beach Brothers to talk about the important business and political topics for Virginians. The governor race is number one on our minds at this time. As of today, the race is deadlocked. Blue Virginia reports a Monmouth poll showing a 46% to 46% tie between Democrat Terry McAuliffe and Republican Glenn Youngkin. This is following on a measurement of a sustained uptick in Republican enthusiasm and a noticeable waning of Democrat enthusiasm before going to this point in the week. I'll remind the viewers a similar circumstance occurred in 2013, coincidentally the last time Terry McAuliffe ran statewide. He won the governor race that year with 47.8%. Ken Cuccinelli got 45.2%, and Libertarian Robert Sarver got 6.5%. In knowing today's relative tie at 46, 8% of Virginians are undecided or have decided to vote for neither of those two candidates. Tonight, we're going to chat with some of those Virginians who will choose the balloted and Liberation Party nominee, Princess Blanding. I'll try to bring everyone on at once. I'll have each person introduce themselves, give a little bit about where in Virginia they're from and their political self-image. We'll then move on to asking each person their view of Glenn Youngkin, then Terry McAuliffe. I'll ask about the opinions on the respective base and enthusiasm of each side. Then, of course, we'll move on to their personal support of Princess. Personal statement. I am a member of the Virginia Beach Democratic Committee. I want the Virginia Beach Democrat recommended guide to cross the line victorious, but I do hope the testimonials tonight can help guide where we're all at. So let me try to bring as many of our guests on right now, and then I'll go name by name to let them introduce themselves and have a great talk. So let me start with Charlotte Job. You're first on my screen, so I'd like you to go first and just tell us about yourselves and your thoughts on Terry, your thoughts on Glenn, your personal self-image in politics, and then why you support Princess Blanding.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Job. I was the Libertarian nominee for the Virginia House of Delegates in 2019 for District 96. I support Princess Blanding for governor. Terry McAuliffe just kind of, he doesn't accomplish anything. He's full of just he's full of the two-party system. He's full of just being what you expect out of every politician, and it's just I've had too much. I've had too much. I've been lied to by the two-party system for my entire life, led to believe that it's some form that's just how it is, but it doesn't have to be that way. And that's one reason why I'm supporting Princess Blanding, because she's obviously outside of the two-party system. But I also agree with her on a multitude of issues, such as her racial policies, her environmental policies, her public safety policies, her healthcare policies, pretty much everything on her website. But, you know, it's everyone talks about Terry McAuliffe and Glenn Youngkin, but like, I'm not that thrilled with either candidate. And, you know, I don't really see that they're that different. As far as myself, I'm from Williamsburg, Virginia. It's kind of a little more red than blue, but it's still kind of close.
All right. I don't know if you heard me. Charlotte, did you hear my last question?
No, I did not.
Oh, sorry. I must have been because I moved myself off the screen. But we know where you're from, but where would you say you are politically? Your self-image of where you are on the political philosophy scale.
So that's obviously that's a hard question to answer, but I guess the ideology I align with most is libertarian socialism. But trying to explain that would take up your entire program. So.
Good point. Well, at least we have a generalized view of it. We know where you're from in Virginia. We know that you like Princess, and we know your thoughts regarding both Terry and Glenn. I would like to move next to Miss Andrea Jackson to ask the same questions about where you're from. What do you think of Glenn Youngkin? What do you think of Terry McAuliffe? Why you're choosing Princess, and where you're at personally, politically? What are your thoughts?
Hi, my name's Andrea Jackson, and I live in Waynesboro, Virginia. I was born and raised, but I've moved and come back several times. I live in one of the reddest counties in Virginia, and the city that I currently live in is relatively purple, but it leans Republican, but it can easily could go either way if the work was put in. My experience of Youngkin, I started paying attention to the general election after the primary, and I was kind of worried about Youngkin because it just seemed like he was going to run on culture wars and not on issues that concern everyday Virginians. And so I've been volunteering in politics since 2008, and I was really been volunteering. I've been the party chair in Waynesboro, the Democratic Party chair in 2012 and 2013. So this is my second Terry McAuliffe election, and I'm the vice chair now. I went to the Buena Vista 50th anniversary parade, which is a big deal here in the Valley. And I was very angry for a while at Terry McAuliffe after the primary. And so I thought I would give him a chance. I said, well, if he's at this parade, I don't I would grit my teeth and bear it and vote for him. You know what I'm saying? Because at least he's trying to make an effort. However, he was not there. He didn't show up. He hasn't showed up anywhere past the Blue Ridge Mountains. And he's made appearances, but not to voters. So that has made my decision. With Glenn Youngkin, I'm very frightened. He's scary. He's Trump in a suit. I mean, like it was not what I'm used to in politics. And he was very, forthcoming and very adjective and divisive and using critical race theory and different things to give, Republican red meat to be angry about. And it's just not what we need in Virginia. However, my thing about Terry McAuliffe is that I didn't have an issue with him being governor in 2013. And I know that people have issues here in the Valley with him, with the Atlantic Pipeline. But overall, I thought he was okay governor. However, I find that he didn't read the room. I did not like that he came in at the last minute when 3 people of color were running. And I have a great issue with that. And I have an issue with nobody really acknowledging and speaking on this and saying what it is. You know what I mean? That even though Democrats like to talk about Republicans, the Democratic Party and Democrats in general, have a tendency to also, be covertly racist and have issues with dealing with racial issues. And so being, knowledgeable and thoughtful on racial issues is not a party line, and both Democrats and Republicans could learn to be more nuanced in it. And I find that I will never forgive Terry McAuliffe for really getting in the way of 2 Black women who are very qualified to do the job. So I did look at a lot of the debates. Both of these women were better than him, even though he was a former governor. All he ever did was talk about how he was a former governor and Joe Biden was his friend. And I wish he would have got a job in Biden's administration. So that's just how I feel. I feel like every vote matters in Virginia. I understand the strategy of, focusing on Nova, Richmond, and Tidewater because that's where your Democratic votes are at. But it fails if you don't turn those votes out. And it doesn't make people who live in the other parts of Virginia, feel like they're a part. So if my vote, he has made it clear in the way he's campaigning that he doesn't care about my country vote, I don't feel obligated to give it to him. How I feel about Princess Blandon, I feel kind of bad because like Charlotte said, I totally agree with all the things that she represents, but I feel like my vote really is a protest vote. I'm just really sick and tired of the 2-party system. I feel that it's 2 sides of the same coin. And I just feel like if not now, when? It's always going to be kick the bucket. It's always going to be the lesser of 2 evils. So I would say I'm a progressive. I would say I'm a Democrat, like pre-1980. I would find that I hate neoliberalism, and like I really attribute to like true 20th century to Democrats, FDR, Truman, you know what I mean, like Johnson, Carter, of that nature.
That all makes sense. I'm glad that we were able to hear both where you're from, what you think about all the candidates, and where you personally would align on the spectrum. I thank you for all that. I'd like to move on now to Mr. Pete Wells. First, where are you at?
Coming at you live from a Walgreens parking lot. I figured since I had to join the podcast from my truck, I should be the stereotypical white military veteran in my cap and my sunglasses for you. But that's enough of that nonsense. It was good for the gimmick. Instead, you get my messy, I just spent all day on the job hair. So, oh, turn hand this way. Sorry. So yeah, I just rushed back to Richmond to get in my personal truck from my work truck. Spent all day up in Warsaw, Virginia. And boy, it is Youngkin signs as far as the eye can see up there. Richmond County, Tappahannock, Warsaw. But back here in the city of Richmond, it's McAuliffe signs as far as the eye can see. And every now and then, my front yard and a couple other front yards, I've seen some Princess Blanding signs. If I made it home, I was gonna, like put her sign behind me in the backdrop here. My thoughts on Glenn Youngkin. Glenn Youngkin could possibly have been a great politician. Too bad he decided to be part of the Republican Party during its downfall. I have this embarrassing thing I did like in 2000 where I voted for Bush. So there was a couple of years, decades ago, where I thought I was a Republican. And they talked a really good game about small government and, individual rights and all of this, and just let me down. And Glenn Youngkin isn't going to be any different. He's going to let his voters down. But at this point, they've all drank the Kool-Aid so hard. It's, talking to them, they've bought in hook, line, and sinker, not just to Republican, like, oh, our party's better, we're going to go with our party, but this Trumpism, right-wing populist nonsense where they've really polluted anything the Republican Party used to stand for. It is now just a party of stamping your feet, throwing tantrums, and opposition to whatever reason, rationality, science, polite society has to say about a subject. You're going to find a Republican pundit or politician, elected officials, acting like complete idiotic children over the subject. So obviously, my thoughts on Youngkin, that's the party he wants to run with. That's the colors he wants to paint himself. So I don't really have time for the guy. He hilariously decided not to, or, well, at least that's the claim. He didn't fill out his VACDL or NRA surveys, which, I mean, if you're courting the Republican vote, yes, they all automatically assume that you're the pro-gun candidate. But here he is just snubbing the two gun rights organizations that Virginians care about the most. And he's just like, nah, I don't need to fill out their paperwork. I don't need their endorsements. So he's not endorsed by, and chances are if he's actually like Trump, you're looking at a, wealthy, elitist white guy that doesn't like crime. Well, tough on crime issues eventually leads to gun control. So I don't see the guy being any better on the issue than McAuliffe. Which brings me to McAuliffe. He's boring. He's just a moderate, centrist, rich guy Democrat. He's going to do whatever Dominion Energy and Appalachian Power and all the other big corporate donors tell him to do. When you look at these guys and they got tens of millions of dollars in their campaign fund for governor, when I ran for House of Delegates, I had like $500 in my campaign fund, and my opponent had over $100,000 to spend for a job that pays $17,000 a year. So, and you look at the money that these candidates for governor are throwing around, millions, for a job that I don't even know what the governor's salary is, but it can't be that much. And so they're doing it for the power and influence, and they're doing it for their benefactors. Their benefactors aren't the people of Virginia. I have washed my hands of the major parties for the most part because they're never going to step in and do anything to actually structurally change anything for regular folks like myself. And third-party candidates have a chance to shake things up. I'm choosing Princess Blanding because she's first and foremost the only third-party candidate that made the ballot. My own party didn't run someone, well, for governor this year. COVID restrictions, just the financial drain of coming out of a presidential election year. We decided that it wasn't beneficial to us to put all of the work in to get a candidate on the ballot for the ballot access reasons. You need 10% of the popular vote in a statewide election to get a third party ballot access in Virginia. The closest we ever came was Rob Sarvis, and we're not there, and we're not going to be there with whoever we pulled out this year. So the Princess, she did it. Bravo. I am all about anyone that wants to put in the time, because to get those signatures, to get verified on the ballot, you have to go to every congressional district in the state. You can't just go to Richmond and petition on VCU campus. You can't go down to ODU in Norfolk. You have to go everywhere. You have to go out to the tip, down in Bristol. You have to go up in Appalachia. You have to go to, Shenandoah. You have to get signatures all over the state, Outer Banks, the whole 9 yards, to get on the ballot for a statewide race, governor, senator, lieutenant governor, AG, so seeing anybody that does that, I have a lot of respect for a third-party candidate getting on the ballot, because they don't have the structure, they don't have the organization that the Republicans and Democrats have. Those guys are funded with millions of dollars. They can pay employees. They don't have volunteers. They can pay employees to go out and do all that work for them. A third-party candidate is going headfirst against the Department of Elections. They're going headfirst against the Board of Elections, the state board that runs the department, and they're going headfirst against a media structure that ignores them. The traction you get, speaking as a two-time third-party candidate, the traction you get with the media is little to none. So obviously, my allegiance to third party, I'd vote for a Green Party candidate. If the DSA ran candidates, I'd vote for them. Just because they're the third party candidate on the ballot, they're going to get my vote. But otherwise, Princess is running on a criminal justice reform platform. Mm-hmm. Her major issues are all, I believe they called it Operation Zero or Platform Zero. I can't remember. Early on in the Black Lives Matter movement, there was this list of demands created, and it was something zero. And Princess's platform is almost line for line that list. And my platform when I ran for House of Delegates was almost line for line that list. My biggest concerns are how our government treats the most vulnerable amongst us. And the power of policing, the power of bureaucrats to come in and wreck people's lives and, toss them in jail, close their businesses down, or, worst, like the worst case scenario, end their lives and get away with it, is far too much in the state. And seeing anybody willing to get on the ballot, and that's her talking point. That's what she leads with. I had one of my guys in the Libertarian Party confront McAuliffe at a diner and ask about what is your position on defunding the police? And to the best of my knowledge, McAuliffe took down his email address on a napkin and said he'd get back to him, that it's too complicated. It's amazing to me, because how can it be too complicated? This is a major issue since March of 2020. Like, defund the police, Black Lives Matter has been at the forefront of people's thought for over a year now. and you can't come up with a 45-second blurb to spit out to somebody in a diner, like that's a stump speech. That's a politician's main thing. Any major issue, you got to have 45 seconds to get your point across. And he doesn't. He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't even have the guts to say he doesn't care. Like he's just going to weasel around on it. And at the end of the day, it's just going to be like when the defund the police bill went up before the House of Delegates in the Senate last year, and the Democrat majority voted it down. And that's what we expect from centrist Democrats, is they'll give you a lot of good talk on the issue on their social media pages, but when the chips are down, they're not going to do anything. And that's why I want to see Princess in the governor's office, because if a Republican majority takes the House or Senate and starts passing some crazy tough on crime BS, she'll veto it. And if the centrist Democrats keep their majority and decide that they're going to do nothing about it, or pass their NIMBYism, version of tough on crime, where it's like, well, if we can keep it corralled in this area where we don't have to look at it, then it's okay. So if we get a bunch of NIMBY Democrats in there, she'll veto their NIMBYism. And also, the job of the governor is the executive office. She's in charge of the cops. She's in charge of the Bureau of Prisons. Who better to have in that position than someone that is skeptical of the power those organizations wield? So I want somebody in power who is afraid of that power, not somebody who wants the power. And that's the difference. Youngkin and McAuliffe want the power. Princess,
like they're competing against each other to embrace that power more.
Oh, exactly. Where, Princess, she is running to give people a voice, people who don't have power, minorities, poor people, gender and sexual minorities, like people in the state that don't have power. She's running to give them the power instead of running to collect power for themselves and their political parties. Where I'm at politically, if you hadn't, sussed it out already, I've run for Congress in 2018 for the Libertarian Party in the 4th Congressional District. I ran in the 71st House of Delegates District for the Libertarian Party in 2019. I was preparing to run again for House of Delegates this year, but I've got a beautiful little baby at home, and the COVID restrictions, we didn't know where we were for what it would take to get on the ballot. And frankly, my own party has sorely disappointed me with its own split. Anybody that talks to libertarians too much knows that there are two types of libertarians. You have your compassionate, your compassionate open borders and civil rights libertarians. And then you have your guys that just stand on the street corner shouting taxation is theft, and the boring Ron Paul fan club entry level libertarianism. I'm like, I hope they're all watching this and they just scream bloody murder at me for 2 years. And also, if you're watching this and you're pissed at me for saying this, I hope Conrad doesn't mind that I get a little French with it. But unfriend me. If you're mad at, like, if you're on my Facebook right now, or if you're following my campaign page and you don't like what I have to say about the split in our party, bye. Save me the time of waiting for you to post some anti-vax crap that makes it into my stream. Because that's my recent mode is, when they share their stupid anti-vax memes, then I unfriend them. So that's the split in my own party. And I couldn't, in good conscience, get up there on a platform representing my party and have somebody ask me about one of my fellow candidates who might have said some wacky anti-vax crap. And now I can't crap on my fellow candidate, but also I think it's a social obligation. Yeah, of course I oppose the government forcing you to do it, but also I think if you don't do it, you're a jerk. So that, like, and like, yeah, there shouldn't be any penalties other than everyone looking at you, pointing at you, and calling you stupid names, because why don't you care enough about your fellow person to go sit in the line for 5 minutes and get a shot? And now there's no lines. Like, I bet you I could walk into that Walgreens right now behind me and get a shot and walk out, like, no problem. Like, so yeah, that's where I am politically, is, like, I've just been so disappointed by the response and the lack of compassion from, a very vocal wing of my own party that I chose not to run. So the Republicans and Democrats, the Republicans actually put somebody on the ballot in my district for the first time in 20, 30 years. It's a 78% Democrat district. Why would they bother? Yay gerrymandering. That's also why did my Democrat opponent have $100,000 to spend to run for office? It's a 78% Democrat district. You got this, buddy. It's a slam dunk. Like, and he proved it. He didn't show up to anything. Like, he made it to one event. Like, he didn't show up. He didn't show up to the Richmond Knights endorsement banquet. Like, he just blew that off, and he got their endorsement. I showed up, and I'm like, gee, who should you have endorsed? But that's what matters. Like, to me, is somebody that's going to show up for the people, and somebody that cares about the people. And I don't think you're going to get that from a Republican or a Democrat. We're not going to get change until people start voting differently. And most importantly, nothing scares them more. Nothing scares them more. Whether McAuliffe wins or that guy, whichever one of them wins, rich white folks are going to be fine. That's how it's going to break down. Rich white folks are going to be fine no matter which one wins, but everybody else is going to be in the same position they were in too, no matter which one wins. Like, I don't see either one of them reversing anything that their predecessors have done. And I don't see them successfully implementing anything either, because House of Delegates is cowardly and gridlocked. So,
makes sense.
Yeah. I suppose I've yammered long enough. So,
well, I appreciate the enthusiasm. I really do. I really do. I want to take it next to Jeff Staples. Let's hear your opinion both on Glenn Youngkin, Terry McAuliffe, why you're choosing Princess, where you are politically, and where you're from.
Thanks, Conrad, and nice to see all of you tonight. Charlotte, hello, haven't seen you in a long time. And nice to meet Andrea and Pete. Andrea, I think we have a good friend together. Jennifer Lewis, yeah. She and I have been fighting pipelines for about 7 years now. And a very talented organizer. So lots of respect to the Shenandoah Democrats. Y'all really kick butt up there. Thank you. I will, give some praise to the progressive Democrats, but I am definitely not a Democrat. I am currently involved in building the People's Party in Virginia, and I am here representing the Tidewater Democratic Socialist of America, and we have endorsed Princess Blanding, given her our endorsement, and we plan on having a lit drop event for her this weekend. We have flyers and a few stickers and posters and stuff, and we're going to work the Riverview and Park Place precincts in Norfolk this weekend, 10:30 a.m. if you can make it. We're going to meet at the parking lot of Lafayette Park over by the zoo. So I got that out of the way, and I'll tell you that I think very little of Glenn Youngkin. He is he's trying to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, but the fangs keep coming out. So, he might be more of a vampire. than than anything else. And Terry McAuliffe, I think slightly less of, believe it or not. And I'll tell you why. Two things he has done is terrible lies. He told everybody, and I can't tell you how many Democrats told me when he ran the first time, that he was needing Dominion's money to defeat the Republican. So, and then when he got elected, he was going to stop the pipelines. Well, guess what? He was their biggest cheerleader. He actually introduced them at a press conference with a person that I've run against, Lionel Sproul, state senator from Norfolk and Chesapeake. So, that to me was a huge thing. I'm from Chesapeake, and I also have a shack in the woods in Bath County, Virginia. So guess what? The Atlantic Coast Pipeline was going to come in behind my little shack in the woods in Bath County, and then it was going to end by my house here in Chesapeake. So the thing had me coming and going, and I was up in arms, and so I spent the last 7 years of my life fighting pipelines, and now I'm trying to help fight the Mountain Valley Pipeline. So Terry McAuliffe lied about that, and then he's also was made Virginia the best state in the union for business. And guess what? We were the last state in the union for workers. So I'll never support a guy like that, being a democratic socialist and a blue collar worker myself. So that's what I think of those two, and I'm being very kind when I made those words too, let me tell you. So, I see Lexi is here. Okay. So I will go ahead and see if anybody has. It's not time for questions yet. So
Not
anyway,
yet. I'll add in some questions and comments toward the end there. You mentioned your stance on Glenn and Terry. I also want to get what
I'm
would
sorry. Yeah.
sell you on Princess itself.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Princess and I are like an ideal match as far as politics go. Love everything that's in her platform. She's very righteous about dealing with the people, and who has gotten away with all kinds of crimes in the past and who needs to start paying. So I definitely like that about her. Criminal reform is just an issue we've got to address. I just recently had a friend get out of jail, and the stories he tells me about how they nickel and dime the poor inmates to death over, lousy misdemeanor charges, charging you $5 for a 2-minute phone call, and $1 for a pack of ramen noodles, and, just crazy stuff like this. Ridiculous. Prisons are for profit, whether they're private or public, and we need to address those issues. Princess is the person to do that. Princess is the person to also address the education problems that we have. My problems with education are mainly that our infrastructure in the schools, the teacher pay, and we need to teach real history and not the Jim Crow history that I was brought up on in Virginia. I think it's bad now. It was a lot worse years ago. We actually sang Dixie when I was in first grade every morning. So anyway, thank God those days are gone, and hopefully they'll be forgotten. And let's get Lexi on.
All right, it'll be time for Miss Lexi. You could. I know we won't be able to get you on here on video, but we can definitely hear you. So we're definitely going to want to hear your opinion on Glenn Youngkin, your opinion on Terry McAuliffe, where you're from, of course, where your politics lie, and what sold you on Princess Blanding.
Sure. So I I've only been in Virginia here for about 4 years now. I'm from California, and so a lot of the times it's hard for me to know like exactly the history of what Terry McAuliffe was like when he was first here as governor. But I can only speak to um, what I've experienced so far. I can't, in good conscience, support somebody who wants to coast by on the idea that they should be governor just because they have the correct connections. Um, it's almost an entitlement issue. The only things that I've seen of him and the way that he campaigns is I've got Biden support, I've got Clinton support, I should have your support. And I think one of the worst things that Trump did to this country is convince us that there's nothing worse than him. So seeing Democrats solely rely on the fact that they are the other side in a way is just something that is lazy to me. I'm staunchly against the two-party system that we have, and it's very difficult for third parties to be able to edge ahead of these types of these races. As far as Youngkin, I typically, again, even though I don't think that McAuliffe is the right choice, obviously Glenn Youngkin is not either. And I think part of fighting against that two-party system goes along with us saying enough's enough and actually putting our money where our mouth is and voting for third-party fighters. I consider myself part of the Democratic Socialist wing, but I will support other third-party candidates so long as they have sort of the same type of beliefs that I do. So, and as far as Princess Blanding, I support her, not just because she doesn't feel entitled to our votes, like McAuliffe does, but the fact that she is very strong on criminal justice reform and is somebody who's been a big part of our community and is actually involved with what she wants the changes to be. That's a big reason of why I support her.
All right. Well, we've got our introductions in and our little appreciations of where we are all at politically. If you guys want to still tag on to the feed, I'm going to go through some comments, maybe some questions here, and we can, drop the single person here. Just make it more of a chat if you guys wish to do that. Start off, of course, with the first comment. Celebrating you, Mr. Jeff Staples, David Jihad. We also have my choice for governor is Prentice Blanding from Mark Barber. Jumping in with Stephanie Rose Marl, Elizabeth Sterner, who just said, hi there, guys. Let's see if I get a question or a good comment here. We need to run on issues regardless of party. There are many things we all as people who need, such as clean air and water. I think there will be a comment later on regarding the concept of ranked choice voting. Does anyone have any strong opinions? And you can combine it to ranked choice as to who's the best at clean air and water, and then who's the second best and who's the third.
Yeah, so I was an intern with Fair Vote Virginia, which is an organization whose single mission is to advance ranked choice voting in Virginia. So I've kind of, I've fallen in love with ranked choice voting because it changes the game. Right now we have a system where if you have three candidates on the ballot, it's always the same two candidates coming up on number 1 and 2. Just how it goes. And it doesn't really have to be that way. And it takes more than just, oh, we'll change the laws and then it'll be great. You know, it does take some momentum going forward, some catalyst to kind of encourage people to actually vote for something instead of voting against something else. So a candidate like Princess Blanding is something you can vote for. And, you know, ranked choice voting works. It's pretty simple. You just, your ballot would be, in this case, there'd be number 1, a number 2, a number 3, and write-ins would be a number 4 choice. But you could pick your first choice, pick your second choice, and pick your third choice. And then how it works is if a candidate doesn't have a true majority, doesn't have over 50% of the support, then the third candidate's votes are redistributed to the individual voter's next option. So there's no wasted votes. There's no kind of spoiler effect where people feel like they have to pick for something or pick for the lesser of two evils or pick against something else, where it's really just, these are the rankings of my candidates. It's pretty straightforward.
I want to throw on this comment here. I think Princess Blanding isn't a rebellion vote. She is an educator, an open-minded human being who is relatable. Where does her relatability in the fact that, you know, she's an educator, and I would imagine more personable if you met her, where does that all come together related to the other candidates, if anyone has any thoughts on that?
I mean, we all went to school, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's easy. It's easy enough to relate to an educator. We've all had someone, you know, between 13 years of public school that we can relate to, and we understand an educator's job as a person. And it's a job that people have, you know, like what is Youngkin, an investment guy? You know, I mean, I know people are investment guys, but I mean, unless you go to school for whatever, like, and understand that, like, most, apart from some guys that get really lucky day trading, most of us aren't investment guys. And McAuliffe, I don't even know what he did before politics with, you know, so Princess has a job. When we're little kids and we go, what do we want to do if we grow up? You know, we go, I want to be a farmer like my dad, or I want to be a fireman, or I want to be a teacher. You know, that's like top 10 material right there for everything, for jobs that we all thought of when we were little kids, of what we could be, you know, when we're adults, is teacher. I know I wanted to be a teacher when I was in high school, and my guidance counselor talked me out of it. So I don't know if he just thought I'd be up there dropping F-bombs in class. But
Miss Andrea, jump in.
In referring to it, not to say that I think that she's a lovely person and an educator, and what this person is saying is true, but I kind of want to push back on them a little bit, because I think voting for her is rebellion and is revolutionary, because, not to say that she is, but the things that she's done, like when she was excluded from the debates and she tried to be spoken like, there is a system that's set up that, you know, a lot of us have talked about, and a lot of y'all have personally experienced, being third party candidates that is set up to keep you out of the system. You know what I'm saying? So voting for a third party, to me, I think is very courageous. And I think, like a lot of you said, it needs to be more done, because the two-party system is not going to ever change. You know what I'm saying? And it's, you know, funded by lobbyists, by corporate money, and especially in Virginia, where we have very loose laws about, you know, all of campaign funding. You feel what I'm saying? So I think that, you know, saying that, it's like saying that, to me, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know what I mean? Because sometimes in order to change something, you have to rebel against it. And this is something that if you want to change the two-party system, you have to do.
Jeff, I saw your hand briefly head up there if you want to jump in.
Yeah, I sure do. I think it's great if you think that you're rebelling by voting that way, great. I love it. My shirt says Rise, Resist, Revolt. So, I'm all in there with you. But also, we got to get to the point where we think about we're voting for the person that most matches my positions. And that can be rebellious, or that can just be the way that we take our mindset to. I think that's extremely important. And that will help us get past this two-party system as much as possible until we can get ranked choice voting installed. And I think that'll be a real game changer then. I'm so looking forward to it. It's kind of like the Bastille coming down brick by brick. We're making headway with that thing. So let's keep up the good work on that. And that's what I got to say about that. Thank you.
89 Deuterino also had an opinion that her showing up at the signing of the legislation pertaining to her own brother and telling the politicians they are showboating and not doing enough. She's been, this aggressive since the start. I guess that's a good thing. I will add in some more comments along the line. I've yet to meet her. Maybe someday. It's hard to get a word about her, though, and it's troubling how many people are turned off just because it's a third party without giving her a chance at all. We also have from Andrea Dixon, if independents and the disaffected finally say enough, we can have a winning third-party candidate. I'd like to believe that. Miss Alexia, I believe you can jump in here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just that it's not a rebellious vote per se. It's, the only way that you can make these politicians listen to what you have to say is by not going along with them. I've seen a lot of criticism of third-party candidates, however, how people say that they're hurting a cause more than helping it because they're diverting votes away from a Democratic candidate. And I just don't get how that can be that candidate's issue. If McAuliffe wants these centrists or these third-party voters, these voters who are not Democrats but are on the left, then it's up to him to try harder to get those votes. And he just simply is not somebody that we should have to settle for.
Especially when you remember the primary, how many great other qualified candidates he just sort of pushed to the side because he had so much influence.
Exactly.
Stephen Gillespie throws in that she is for ranked choice voting, so that's good to know. I also want to throw in here from the channel Our Black Empowerment. Do you think that a third-party candidate that wins a seat can actually get support from major party peers in the government structure? I wonder if anyone has any thoughts on that. Mr. Jeff.
All right, had to find the unmute button again, but yes, they definitely will be able to find maybe not peers so much, but solicitation will come their way. As close as the votes are now in the General Assembly, you better believe that both of the major parties will be breathing down their neck trying to entice them to vote for it, and we can use that to get things that we actually need. If we can use that as a like a lever to gain some traction. I don't think that they will put us in the basement like they did a certain Democratic delegate not too long ago.
Want to throw in another comment from Mr. Stephen Gillespie. This was more closer to about 20 minutes ago. But I'm pretty sure we're bringing it back to supporting blending. So I'm glad we're able to get that part in here. Again, from Ms. Andrea, a society with diversity in ethnicity, sexuality, and political affiliation means diversity in thought. So it's all baked in the cake. I guess.
Can I jump in on that?
Yes.
So we have this two-party system where we're told that there's two ways to think, and there's how many people in this country? Over 300 million, and we're told that there's two choices, two ways to think. And it's just not accurate, and it also doesn't represent the diversity of people's cultures and people's opinions.
Now I have another comment from our Black Empowerment. Question actually, do you think an independent has a chance to win in a Virginia race? And this could also mean for smaller down ballot things like delegate. Could independent actually work out? And actually, I'm glad I have so many former independent candidates on here to speak on that. Mr. Jeff.
Oh yes, I really do believe that we can pull one off, and we will here very shortly. I'm very hopeful for. In 2015, I raised 1% of the money that Barry Knight, longtime Republican, raised in District 81. I ran against him as a Green Party candidate, and I came out with 31% of the vote. Imagine if I'd actually had some volunteers, more than the few that I had. Imagine if I had a little bit more money. I could have bought some more radio programming, put up some more signs, reach more people, because God knows the Virginian pilot isn't going to ever cover you. And I mean, it can be done. You know, if 31% of the people in our district were ready to vote for a Green Party guy, that means we only need 20% more to pull it off. And this year, the Board of Elections made sure that I didn't get on the ballot this time. I was given wrong instructions by an elections official, and somehow that means I got kicked off the ballot. So, you know, if we can get on the ballot, we can win. I feel it coming. It's going to happen, whether it's a Libertarian, a Green, a People's Party, whatever. We're going to get some representation here very soon.
All right. Before I move on to the next comment, I didn't want to hold you up, Miss Lexi, because I remember prior to the show, I think you mentioned that you might be here till about 7.
Yeah, I do have class. Thank you so much for having me on. I know I'm not as eloquently spoken, but it is nice to kind of talk and get this feedback.
I'm glad we're able to have you on. Do you want to give like a final 20-second blurb about why you like Princess?
Yes. Again, she is a relatable candidate. She knows what it's like to be a citizen in Virginia and go through the same things that we go through. McAuliffe does not have that anymore. If he did, he doesn't have it anymore. And she's what I believe is something that's going to be right for this state. So,
well, great. Thank you, Miss Lexi, and enjoy class tonight.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, now it's just to myself, Charlotte, Andrea, Pete, and Jeff, and we'll go back to some comments. No, I don't want to hold you guys up. If anyone has like anything that they need to do at 7:10 or something like that, that's fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've got to dip out too. My wife's got to be to work in about a half hour, so I'll sign off here just saying,
Princess stump
speech. Yeah. So for any of my fellow libertarians that are looking at this going, oh, we don't have a candidate on the ballot. Well, our brothers and sisters in the other third parties there is one. And we have more in common with Princess than we do with Youngkin or McAuliffe. There is more to offer the third party cause in general, and even the Libertarian Party and libertarian-minded voters by a Princess vote than there is by chickening out and doing the old, well, I used to vote for this part Party Stockholm Syndrome mentality where we are the captive property of whatever party our grandparents voted for. So, just Princess is the candidate that's on the ballot fighting against big money in politics, fighting against a large establishment that claims the right to end your business, end your life at will. And, so she is the party, or she's the candidate on the ballot that's running for governor that actually stands for human liberation. And yeah, she's from the Liberation Party.
Mhm.
There's a few little letters there that we share in common, even. And if you're a libertarian-minded voter, you should be looking for somebody who is looking to liberate as many humans as possible. And that means working to help the most vulnerable amongst us before helping wealthy special interests. So, if you haven't voted already, keep it in mind to vote for Princess Blanding. That vote sends far more of a signal to the power structure in Virginia than chickening out and pulling the lever for Glenn or Terry.
All right. Well, again, thank you for jumping on, Mr. Pete. I hope you have a great night, and we'll catch you around next time.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Miss Andrea, I believe you're about to head on out too. I want to give you a chance to have a nice last stump speech for Princess before you head away.
I feel like I'm the odd man out on this on this panel, and I think it's good because, like you say, you have diversity, you have different people. I'm not the odd man out, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I am a very upset voter just in general, and I agree with a lot of the different things, but in the last year I've just been disappointed with everything. I've been disappointed with progressives, third parties, everybody. I think we all need to do better. I think that there are more people who do not vote than who do, and I think that there is a lot of people always are like, well, we don't like who it is, or we don't like the Democrat or Republicans. Okay, then get out and organize and make a difference. You know what I mean? Like, there's the People's Party that's coming, for the People's Party in Virginia, the Green Party, DSA. There are different things you can get involved with, and who are winning other places on local levels. There was Lee Carter. There's all those different things, but nothing is easy. And I think a lot of time people want an easy answer, and that's just not it. You know what I mean? And change is not easy. And so, like, I stand by that. Like, you have to be the change you want to see in the world. And so, like, for me, I'm just tired. No one's entitled to my vote. You need to ask for it, and that you have to, all be something for it. You know what I'm saying? Make the issues that I care about, you know what I mean? And stop, like all of this, just, the government is for the people, by the people. And, we know that the system is rigged, but if we all come together as people and vote, we can make a difference and change. So that's why I'm voting for Princess Blanding. I like that she's standing up. And even though it's a very hard, battle and, hard race to run, that she's doing that. She could have just sat at home and not, but she went out there. She's doing it. She's going to places and talking to people. And you know what I mean? Like, I support it. And so I support her. You know what I mean? I don't want Youngkin to win. You know what I mean? I don't. But you know what I mean? Like, if this is truly the lesser of two evils, and I just decided I don't want to dance on that party anymore, I'm not going to do that. So that's why I'm voting. And I just really hope that this gives other people the encouragement to go out and run and get involved in third parties.
Excellent. And I do appreciate you jumping on tonight, Miss Andrea, and meeting some new people. And I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Nice meeting you, everybody.
Nice meeting you.
All right. So Charlotte and Jeff, we're past 7 o'clock, so I don't want to hold you up or anything, but I do have some more comments if we wanted to sit and discuss that. How do you guys feel about that? I think everyone muted themselves.
Yeah, I'm game. I have another thing that started at 7, but I can certainly hang out and discuss this a bit more. This governor's race is approaching rapidly, and we need to
Okay.
kick the ball for Princess as much as we can.
Ms. Joby, feel the same?
Yeah, I'll be here.
All right. Let's start with, I want to put this up here because it's important. It is Steph. I am non-binary. Pronouns are they, he, or Steph. Facebook wouldn't let me use my chosen name, and they are not as accommodating to us trans folks. So I wanted to correct that, and I'm glad you're able to stick around with us to watch and learn more about our opinions regarding Princess. Next comment up from Amber Chadwick. She's in the trenches. She understands the classroom and the pitfalls of public education. Stephen Gillespie again. Blanning is the only non-corporate candidate running on real issues that matter to real people and offering real solutions, not just tired platitudes. I wonder how much that is important to, I mentioned earlier in the night, sort of Monmouth right now is pointing out 46 roughly dead even, with about 8% that either aren't going to vote at all or are simply going to make their decision in the ballot box or have already committed to someone like Princess. And I wonder if the non-corporate angle can sell them. Does anyone have any strong opinions on that?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I do. I have really strong opinions on it. That's what got me involved in all these recent politics is a sheer amount of money that people take. You know, for instance, Terry McAuliffe, another reason he'll never get my vote is for his governor's inauguration ball, Dominion gave him $75,000. They gave the same amount to the present governor and Ralph Northam, and you know, that's just garbage. So yeah, I think Princess, but the problem with that is we have such a hard time getting this message out because the same people that fund these things also buy advertising in the newspapers and on the radio stations and on the TV stations. So a lot of it doesn't get reported. It's public knowledge, but you know, a lot of people get on the internet to watch hamster dance. They need to prod around a little bit more, and we certainly need to educate them on that.
Do you have any more opinions on the concept of being swayed by corporate money itself?
So I definitely feel like in politics, corporate money has all sorts of influence in our political structure. And it really the only way to get away from that is just to support candidates that don't take corporate money. The corporate money just makes politicians they want to follow the money. Politics is very corrupting. You get in there and you are there to try to get money. You're there to try to get votes. That's what your job is. And if you don't just toe the line of your party, you get tossed out. So someone who's not part of a party she's part of a party. She's part of her own party, the Liberation Party, but she's not part of the Democrats or the Republicans. She's not part of this oligarchy establishment that just keeps shoving the same shit down our throats and then doing nothing about it.
The comment from Stephen Gillespie: rich white jerk Trumpkin versus rich white savior. Retreat McPipelines is no choice at all. The lesser of two evils logic doesn't apply when there finally is a third genuine progressive. And I wonder if that is partially related to the waning sort of enthusiasm the Democrats might have for Terry. Does that mean that people who they identify as Democrat, but they also identify as progressive at the same time, they're like, well, dang it, there's Princess right there. That's something. Whenever anyone has any thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I'm not personally a Democrat, so I can't say I was ever going to vote for Terry McAuliffe. But if you're sitting here and you're thinking, should I vote for Terry McAuliffe or should I vote for Princess Blanding? I would just say that voting for Terry McAuliffe doesn't move us forward. Right now, we're just playing ping pong. The ball just keeps going back and forth. The only way to move forward is to just say goodbye.
All right.
And you know, the race, yeah, it's close. It's 46-46, as you point out, and it's maybe a coin flip, but it's, you know, if you're not actually for the people, you're just supporting. It's the same. It's completely the same, and I can't just pick something that's crap when there's something sitting right in front of me that's, you know, great, and I'm not just gonna let myself be swayed by the polls or what logic suggests I should do because it's so close and all this. But, you know, philosophically, I don't think it makes sense to keep voting for something you don't agree with. And I don't think it actually changes anything in the long run.
Similar sentiments, Mr. Staples?
Yeah, very much so. You know, Charlotte is exactly right. It's the same. You know, they promise a good game and all this stuff, but think about it. We've had 8 years now of Democratic governors, Northam and Terry McAuliffe in a row, and these neighborhoods, to me, look like they're a little worse off than they were. Yeah, he's made it great for business. Both of them did. But, you know, I haven't had a raise in 12 years. So where is this emphasis on getting really good jobs? You know, they talk one way and then do another thing, or they don't do anything at all. And but they certainly are keeping big business happy, constantly courting them, and they're constantly getting courted. So I just think that we really need people to elect people that are from the working class, people that actually work for a living, doing things other than investment banking and whatever political consulting or something like that. That's my thoughts on this. And also, we should all vote for Princess Blanding.
Dominiocrats wiped out a progressive candidacy and agenda in their primary, leaving the whole progressive lane wide open. Even on just identity politics, she used a single LGBTQ plus Black mom. She does speak to a lot of communities that aren't simply going to be spoken to by Terry. It's a simple fact. Same thing with Glenn. She is unique enough to have a rather large following as long as people knew she was there to be followed. Let's see, I'll throw in voters can turn out to vote for Blanding and send the message that voters outside the Nova enclave cannot be ignored by the corporate Dems.
Yeah, that's a big point that's being brought up is the dissing of the western part of Virginia. You know, Sam Rizzo made a big point of visiting every place in the state, and I think Terry McAuliffe has made a point of not going anywhere other than Richmond, Nova, and Hampton Roads.
How? What are the thoughts that suddenly in the past couple of weeks we have the big names that come out to support Terry in stops within the state of Virginia? And by big names, we think former President Obama, and so on and so forth. Is that a sign of that waning support?
I think so. And I'll just say this. All the rock stars that trotted out for Hillary didn't make any difference either. So maybe if you spend a little more time with the people instead of the rock stars and stuff, you'd be better off.
All right. Let's see if I can find some cool more comments here along the way. How about this? You've been about an hour and 14 or so minutes into that. Let's throw this one up here. What type of 30 to 40-second speech would you give to an undecided voter for Princess on voting third party? Let's say that you both were at the polls. Someone had no idea what they wanted to vote for, but they knew that they wanted to vote. What would you say in about 30 to 40 seconds? Let's start with Charlotte.
So the main thing is that you want to vote for something, not against something else. We have a system that propagates people voting for the same stuff over and over again. And if you just break through and just pick someone that's actually who represents you, a lot of change can actually happen. It may not seem like that, but what are we supposed to do? Just sit back and do nothing? Princess is the real deal. She's a great candidate. She's talking to all sorts of voters. She wants to win. She wants to help us. And I just think that she's a great candidate.
All right. Lastly, same comment, same question. What type of 30 to 40-second speech would you give to an undecided voter for Princess or voting for third party? Mr. Jeff.
I would start off by saying that Princess Blanding is a person for the people. And I would also say that education is in decline in the Commonwealth, and the only way we're ever going to fully fund public education is by voting for people that actually have children in the public schools. Stop electing these rich people that have their kids in academies. Also, I would also say, we already had him once. We had his basically his son next for 8 years. Are you any better off than you were then? Probably not. And if you are, it's because of that third job you had to take. So that's what I would harp on there. Education and, well, actually three things. The fact that Princess is inclusive of all, and labor and education.
Excellent. Well, I think that that's about right to wrap on up. So I do want to personally thank you, Mr. Staples, Ms. Jobe, for actually just coming on and just chatting about your personal opinion, both on Terry and Glenn, your personal beliefs, and also why you support Princess. So I'm glad and appreciative you're all able to come on, and that goes for Andrea, Pete, Lexi as well. Everyone who joined us tonight and watched and commented, I do thank you for that. So any final words?
Go ahead, Charlotte.
Don't be scared. Just vote for her.
There we go.
There you go. Absolutely. I'm going to mirror that. It'll be after Halloween, so don't be scared. Go ahead and vote for Princess Blanding. And I saw some names I recognized from Southwest Virginia. I want to thank all of you guys for coming out and watching the show. Thanks.
Exactly. I will close out. I do appreciate everyone for joining tonight. I want to thank all my participants. They're the stars. I'm just the host, and they're what got this show up and going. For your viewers out there, I want to thank you too. If you're part of the more diehard Terry fans or the diehard Glenn Youngkin fans, hit me up. I'd like to have the Beach Brothers Show sit down with you as well and discuss the reasons why you support such a politician. The Beach Brothers Show is made right here in the 757, and I definitely hope you like this channel, and I hope that you watch our content, and I hope that you catch us next time for another great Beach Brothers Show. And I would like to lean in now to our outro videos.
It's never too early or too late to plan for retirement. Let me show you how to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your assets from loss due to catastrophic decisions that may affect you the rest of your life. Please call me.
This show was brought to you by Positive Vibes Incorporated, our consulting services. We do credit fixes. We do tax resolution. We lend private money and debt consolidation. So if you need some of these services, we're waiting here for you. Credit fixes, tax resolutions, private money, and debt consolidation. Make sure you call Positive Vibes Incorporated.
Thank you all, and